much to GLAW Festival for inviting us to talk about something that sometimes is weird, or at least is not usual to hear about. Yeah. We are historians, but also prospectivists. We will introduce later who are we. But this keynote is about something that maybe you have heard, maybe not. It's about prospective future studies. Maybe now you have heard about this, design futures, whatever. But the key thing about this field is not about predicting the future, as we will explain you. It's about understanding, in fact, the present, but in a really different way for making better decisions. And this is a field that has been developed maybe in the 50, 60 years ago, from now to now. Sorry. So, we don't have, you have this.
I do
so
have.
We met each other in bodies today, so...
Quite recently,
yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
But we are like-minded, definitely. Yeah. Shall I start? So let's start with a little game, a very short game, and let's envision 3 very short, fictional, highly fictional narratives of the future, without an S for now. And I'll let you think of this first one. What if tomorrow law happens to be better written by AI than by humans? What do you think? Is it likely to happen? I can see you nodding. From 0 to 5, 5 very most likely, or 0, no, that's not going to happen. What do you think? 5, 4, 5, yeah. 8, yeah, definitely. Actually, it already happens. Another one, which might sound more familiar to you, but at the same time, we turned it a little bit more creative, let's say. We are talking about designing the future and using design fiction as such. What happens is if, your clients, our clients, start hiring, recruiting legal AI agents, assistants, call them whatever you want, just like they would hire and recruit actual humans, meaning that they can find them on the very same platforms, such as LinkedIn and so on. What do you think? Is it likely to happen or not? Yeah, kind of a mixed feeling, right? A last one, but we could run a full-hour session with this kind of stuff. The last one is something I'm very fond of discussing about, and I'll come to it later. What if conversation becomes the unique, or at minimum the major, user experience in the digital world from now? What happens if the way we run our businesses, the way we write down our deals, our discussions, business discussions, but also our personal daily activities turn to I would like to, to mimic this, a never-ending conversation? How do we get out from this? We already talked about how to deal with the screen fatigue, right? With cognitive overload. What happens if tomorrow we are in a never-ending conversation? Okay, my name is, as you can see, Sumi, Auguste, and I run Prospective Research for a French family-owned legal knowledge company called Lefebvre, located in Paris, but you might know the Spanish brand called Lefebvre. and I let you introduce yourself and
Yeah.
talk over about the methodology.
Thank you. I'm Elisabet, and I run my own studio that mixes social sciences, perspective, and other disciplines in order to help to engage with what the hell is happening in the environment, not only natural environment, meaning in all senses, all the environment. So we are in this occasion finding together because I'm not from the legal sector. I am an outsider, and my mission is to bring different perspectives for a more complex world that we are living. So maybe when we used to think about future, no? We expect that someone or something can predict what is going to happen, like in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, in the next year. But the thing is that, as I was saying, no, future studies, which is the huge field that encompasses also strategic foresight / prospective / whatever other names have, it's a discipline that has been developed since 5-6 decades ago until now. And their main point is not predicting, because something that was a realization from the Cold War since now is that we live in a complex world. These things that we are hearing and we are realizing these days, that we live in a complex, uncertain, ambiguous, and all these other words, this has been like for decades. Like VUCA, maybe have you heard this acronym? It's from 90s. It's not from like 5 years ago. Maybe it's more mainstream now, but it doesn't mean. So the main point of future studies is not predicting. This thing about the guru of the moment saying the future is, and having like a prophecy in their hand is like really wrong in so many ways. We are working in better understanding the present in a more systemic way, for understanding also which possibilities open up, and also taking better decisions, because at the end is what it is about the thing. So what we do, or one of the first steps, is inviting to embrace this landscape, is understanding, as I was saying, in a systemic way, how different elements, actors, trends, megatrends, and different other kinds of elements that used to be processual, like they are dynamic, how they fit and how our ideas or how our expectations fit in this landscape. Also, it's super important to understand which kind of opportunities appear in new novel contexts, which also helps these methodologies, this form of thinking about the world, not only about time, and also engaging with possible risks that sometimes sounds like taboo. We have to be super optimist, but it's also really important to think beyond our own sector, because when we are, for example, in legal or in tech, we used to think the future in terms only of the sector issues that are going on. So we can, for example, have a connection with these terms that we know that are short-term, long-term, which sometimes is like a taboo, no, the long-term.
Yeah, and actually, I think you can relate to this, because from a very business grounded perspective, you know as well as me that it's hard to deal at the same time with the short-term initiatives, the short-term strategic goals, and right now, an unexpected, genuinely innovative, long-term story, long-term ambition. And this is why I like this, this very simple, easy to understand time cone. But here's another one that you will get to explain.
Yeah, this is a similar one. But the thing is, what is the idea? No, I was explaining you that we cannot predict. this is not about prediction. If we think about prediction, it should be like if we have a historical amount of data of a given variable, for example, we expect to calculate or estimate its possible path, no, to the future. This is the classical way of thinking about change. It's about prediction. But in this way, we think about this complexity as a kind of a fun. This is called the futures cone, thinking in 3D, for saying in some way, because from one single event, it can open different scenarios. Some could be more probable, some could be less probable. But let's say that we are in 2019, like 6 years ago, and I say to you, there is a possible scenario where the next year we are going to stay at homes, and maybe you will think that it was going to be an implausible scenario. Like 2020 sounds like the future for us. But the reality is that the present is our past right now, was super different about we thought it was more probable. So we need to think beyond the probabilities, to think beyond these mental frames that we used to think. So we have these different concepts, especially the possible. Possible, it's related with potentiality. Probability is about potentiality, but it's about also estimation. So probability stays on the mathematical world, in fact. But we need to think beyond what is probable, because sometimes we cannot predict what is going to happen. So we need these other ways of rethinking future.
May I add just something about this time cone, which is a beautiful conceptual time-space construct. Again, from a legal ecosystem point of view, I find it very hard and very counterintuitive for any person with a legal background to think that way, because we are expected to speculate, to elaborate, to wonder between different potential futures, rather than running, analytical and deductive reasoning processes. And I mean, intellectual-wise, in terms of cognitive processes, it's not that trivial. I'll let you go on.
No. So in order to make this work, because there are methodologies, it's not only about the theory, that's not a talk about the concrete methodologies, but the idea or some principles that we use is that if we are going to, I don't know, like looking at the future of futures, we prefer the plural. We talk about futures as different possibilities. We promote to think beyond the usual frame. So if we're going to look at AI plus law futures, we need to look beyond that to understand the systems which is embedded all these sectors, the technologies, and so on. Humanities, so they are absolutely helpful, and this is the reason. So because sometimes lots of people from history and sociology or anthropology, we stay in this field because we need these other ways of reframing the problems. And also, of course, cognitive sciences, including psychology. So here is another way of thinking beyond the cone thing we showed you. Let's say we are in a law firm and we want to explore the future of laws, or with AI or whatever it is going on. So the usual movement would be like scanning. We like to use scan, like researching different trends, like, I don't know, downloading different reports, databases, and all that, and trying to figure out what is happening in the environment of the topic that we have chosen. But what we recommend is understanding better what is happening on the major environment of this. So which connections, which crossed impacts are related. So if we are going to talk about, I don't know, a given legal tech trend based on AI, which is the thing that is going on a lot, we need also to understand what is happening, for example, in Silicon Valley, or in geopolitical terms, which role is taking AI in geostrategy, in different geostrategies, in different countries. No? Maybe you have heard China versus US versus Europe, European Union. They are debating different models, in fact, of the digital and the AI. So we can do that also understanding which embeddings have with climate change that it has. The idea is opening this scope for better understanding also not only the short term, but also the long term, which seems like counterintuitive. So this is the base, in fact, of those fields. So for focusing in law, I think that is something that we want to know more about, and not only about theory and all that. I wanted to move you these questions about, for example, how artificial intelligence transforms and shapes processes, because usually we think about AI in terms of automation or in terms of tasks.
Yeah, yes. We started talking about this, what AI would do to the business of law and the legal practices in terms of automation, right? In terms of productivity, ROI, and so on and so on and so on. And just like you saw on the time cone with the short term, the vision, and so on, we are already moving to a different gameplay, so to speak, because we are moving, and this is the purpose of this little visual. We are moving to, back in the days from November 22, remember, ChatGPT made public. The following months and year, we are moving to something that was somehow the extension of what we call the digital transformation of our practices. And now, from now on, I'm talking about this year especially, because of reasoning models. Before that, chain of thought, for those who know. Because of reasoning models, because of agentic mode, we are moving to a radically new episode, okay? Which we call the paradigm shift. It's happening now. And what is my point? My point is that we are not talking about regular tools anymore, okay? We need to be very clairvoyant. Yes, we need to handle them. We need to keep control and to be fully autonomous, and I'll come to it later. But the capacity, the latest recent developments and the new AI capacities are really, really not only mind-blowing, but concerning. Okay? I'm not talking about AGI, the artificial general intelligence. I'm talking about some very operational, ready to put in production capacities, like the ones I mentioned. And why do we need to be that vigilant? Because, as you mentioned, if we embrace the whole stakeholders, the whole dynamics, we need to remind that we have some very big tech players who are definitely interested in getting you hooked in the use of those tools. Remember my point about the conversation, right? The fact is, the good news is that we are not in a generalistic use of AI solutions. We are a niche economy. We are a very specific industry with higher expectations in terms of managing our intellectual processes, which are at the very core of the value we deliver on the market. Meaning that we need to be vigilant, yeah, and we need to take into account that we are not talking only about automation and improvement and so on and so on. We're talking about something that we need to invent and to define which is how do we combine smartly with those tools, with, if you want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get to focus more on this point, because
Yeah.
it's the more complex one, no? How exactly legal industry, legal sector, all the actors can handle all these transformations, because we are talking about transition. We are going from one context with other processes, other dynamics between different actors to a new, different one. Of course, there will be some legacies and some things that will be in their inertia, but how do you think this legal sector will handle all these change of systems?
Okay, well, given the time, I won't be answering, I mean, in a comprehensive way, and I will, on purpose, pick one specific aspect, which you can probably guess. Are you familiar with those words, buzzwords, like AI slop, obviously, but the dead internet? Do you know, you might already know that people around in the tech industry keep saying that, well, it's a matter of months now, but by the end of 2026, the digital space we know, aka the web, will be populated mostly by bots and AIs generating synthetic content, okay? So, meaning that we have a situation in terms of added value, in terms of quality, in terms of course, reliability, but I assume you already are aware of those aspects. But my point is that those new AI capacities are coming for our brains, for our core intellectual capacities. And maybe we can, yeah. This will be our kind of takeaway, let's say. As I said, quality and efficiency in our business should not be the old equation, meaning if I get to put some AI in my industry, in my businesses, I get productivity and I gain speed and that's it. This is in the scope, but it's a way different challenge right now. I go back to my game of the beginning. What happens if tomorrow we are all law firms, general counsels, and so on, we are all provided with the very same level of top quality, state-of-the-art legal AI technologies. So what? How do I differentiate myself or my company from my competitor? Where does it happen? And how do I escape from the risk of commoditization? Okay? How do I get to define right now, because the purpose of prospective research is to anticipate and to plan ahead, how do I define right now what is unique to me, what is distinctive enough in terms of assets, in terms of strategy, and so on and so on. Okay? So, as a takeaway, first, this let's call it a cursor, defining the cursor between commoditization and differentiation. And on a very practical and operational level, two last things. One is when purchasing AI solutions, do ask for accountable, explainable, auditable solutions. I'm not talking about the tech as such, because it's not easy to understand. I'm talking about the way the AI solutions run the reasoning processes. You need to get access in a full transparency to those, okay? So do ask this to your vendors. And the last one, the very last one, is something you already handle, I think, AI education, AI literacy, right? It is more than ever necessary to put it in the core strategy of the next years. And again, I'm not talking about tech. It's not only tech-wise, it's about, like you mentioned, about getting to understand who are the stakeholders, what are their interests, why are they putting this kind of interface, etc., etc. It's about getting to better understand the ecosystem as a whole in terms of geopolitics, in terms of economy, in terms of behavioral and cognitive evolutions. Thank you. Last thing. Just something somehow related. I ran and I wrote actually a documentary, 52-minute documentary last spring called The Future of Law. In French it was called Futur du droit traversé par l'intelligence artificielle. And it's a journey throughout Europe, meeting with people, either the dean of the law bar at Madrid, or Sarah Molina, who you know, if you were there yesterday, or Maria de la O, here, from Lefebvre. But other people like magistrates, like researchers, sociologists, and so on. And it's a 1 hour, almost 1 hour interview about what AI, how AI might shape the future of law. And you can access to this documentary for the English version on YouTube. And you can ask Maria to get the Spanish version if you want, because it is fully subtitled and translated into French, Spanish, Dutch, Italian, and German. Thank you. Thank you, Elisabet.